Haga. And before I even tell you what it means, just take a second to look at it. This one single word represents a mental practice that's designed to turn the chaos of overthinking into a structured, powerful search for wisdom.
Have you ever been told you just think too much? That you get lost in your own head, analyzing every single detail. Most of us are taught to see that as a bad thing, right? A sign of anxiety, a problem you need to fix. But what if it's not a bug at all? What if for some of us, it's actually a feature, a kind of secret superpower? Well, let's get into it.
So that's what we're exploring. We're going to look at a completely different side of that busy mind. We'll dive into what modern psychology says about certain thinking patterns that are directly linked to higher intelligence. And maybe, just maybe, we can reframe this whole idea. Is it possible that what we've been calling overthinking is actually a sign of a mind that's wired for much deeper processing?
Okay, so the first thing we've got to get straight is this. Not all overthinking is created equal. Far from it. On one side, you've got the anxious loop. Oh, we've all been there. It's that mental hamster wheel, just spinning and spinning with worry, fueled by emotion, and it leaves you totally stuck. But then there's the other side, productive reflection. This is a completely different mental gear. It's not about worry. It's about deep analysis, asking logical questions, and actually searching for insight. And this is the habit we're focusing on today.
Now, modern psychology actually has a name for this productive style of thinking, and it all starts with one single, incredibly powerful action. Or, actually, it's more like a moment of inaction. Let's take a look at what researchers have figured out.
The term they use is cognitive reflection. And here's the key idea. This kind of deep thinking isn't driven by anxiety at all. It's driven by curiosity. It's the ability to stop, question your very first instinct, and push right past that gut reaction so you can engage the logical reasoning part of your brain. And get this is where the direct link to intelligence comes in. Studies show that the more you practice this, the better you tend to do on IQ tests. Why? Well, because it leads to much more accurate judgments and way better problem solving, instead of just knee-jerk reactions.
So how does this actually work in the moment? Well, it's a pretty simple three-step process. First, you have a stimulus. Could be a problem, a tough question, even an insult. Now, most people jump straight from stimulus to reaction, but the mind that's practicing cognitive reflection inserts a crucial second step, the pause. It's this little mental gap that stops the automatic emotional part of the brain from taking over, and it allows for step 3, a deliberate response, one that's guided by logic and reason.
I mean, this quote just says it all, doesn't it? The real quality of our thinking, of our decisions, isn't measured by how fast we can react. It's measured by our ability to create that little bit of space for reflection. It's in that quiet moment. That's where intelligence really gets to work.
So while modern psychology has put a fancy label on it, this idea is, well, it's ancient. It turns out that for literally thousands of years, different cultures have been cultivating this exact kind of deep, productive thinking. Let's explore one of the most powerful ancient blueprints for this very same practice.
This is the Hebrew word Haga. And before I even tell you what it means, just take a second to look at it. This one single word represents a mental practice that's designed to turn the chaos of overthinking into a structured, powerful search for wisdom. Now, when we think of meditation, we usually think of emptying the mind, right? Finding stillness. Well, Haggalid is pretty much the opposite. It's all about engaging the mind. It literally means to mutter, to speak quietly to yourself, to work through a problem out loud. It's this active process of pondering puzzles, connecting the dots, and just wrestling with an idea until you finally discover what it all means. And this practice of Haga wasn't just some abstract theory. It was lived out by some of history's most fascinating figures. So let's look at 2 really powerful examples of people who use this exact method to navigate some truly overwhelming circumstances. Our first archetype is Mary. Now, think about her situation. She is faced with a series of events that are, frankly, unbelievable. But she doesn't panic. She doesn't have a big emotional reaction. Instead, the text says she kept all these things and pondered them in her heart. This is a perfect picture of internal Haga. She's not just worrying. She's actively gathering all the data, all the strange prophecies and miraculous events, and she's turning it all over and over in her mind, deliberately searching for the deeper meaning.
And it's so important to understand what heart means here. It's not just about feelings. In this ancient way of thinking, the heart is the center of everything. Your will, your intellect, your understanding. So when it says Mary is pondering in her heart, it means she's engaging in this deep cognitive process of reflection, trying to make sense of everything. It's Haga in action.
All right, now for our second archetype, David. And what's amazing is that we don't start with his strength. We start with his vulnerability. He just comes right out and says it. My thoughts trouble me. I mean, doesn't that sound exactly like that anxious loop we were talking about? He's feeling fear, he's feeling anguish, he just wants to escape. But he doesn't stay there. And this is where we get to see his Haggah process, step by step. His Psalms are basically a written record of him working through his own thoughts. First, he confronts the fear. He doesn't hide from it. He puts his anxiety into words. Then he actively rehearses reality. He reminds himself of what he knows is true, what's happened in the past. And finally, after all that reflection, he makes a deliberate choice to trust, transforming all those troubled thoughts into real clarity and confidence.
So what does all this mean for us right now? We have modern psychology, and we have this ancient wisdom. How do we actually take these ideas and apply them to our own busy minds? Let's bring it all together. This chart really lays out the whole difference. Look at the goal. Anxious thinking is just trying to escape a bad feeling. But the goal of productive thinking, or Haggah, is to actually find understanding. The process? Anxious thinking is a repetitive loop. Productive thinking is a structured, linear inquiry. And the focus? Anxious thinking gets stuck on the problem itself. Productive thinking shifts the focus to potential solutions and meaning. And that leads to a totally different outcome. One leads to paralysis and fear. The other leads to clarity and insight. And that's the shift we can all learn how to make.
Ultimately, it all comes down to this. Your mind is an incredibly powerful engine, and it is always going to be running. The real question isn't how do you turn it off? The question is, where are you directing it? Are you just letting it spin in circles, generating a lot of heat and noise but going nowhere? Or are you aiming it down a productive track, one that leads toward understanding, insight, and wisdom? Because that choice, that's the difference between a bug and a feature.